TJ here. So for the second series of our dipping into summer recipes, I am going to be doing a cannellini bean dip. Super easy. Pretty much you need a can of beans, so cannellini beans, or you could use like a northern bean. Anything with like a thinner skin on it. If you use a kidney bean, it's too thick of a skin, you're gonna taste it in your mouth. Never a good texture to have. So the cannellini beans, and then you're gonna need a little bit of lemon juice, roughly a teaspoon, and then you're gonna need the zest of a lemon, and then you can use herbs if you wanna use herbs. I am going to be using some fresh thyme, but you could use rosemary, you could use some dried basil, totally up to you, as I feel like those certain herbs work really well with lemon. And then we'll do a little bit of a drizzle with the olive oil, and then we'll season it with salt and pepper, and we should be good to go. All right, so let's get started. So in a blender, just pretty much take a can, dump out a little bit of the liquid, and then put it in a blender, and then pulse it a little bit. Don't pulse too much because you want a little bit of texture in your dip. Otherwise you end up with more of like, it's kind of like bean soup. And unfortunately, that was kind of where I accidentally took it, and I didn't mean to, but it will be okay. You know, sometimes we mess up and we just gotta roll with the punches. So to that, I'm going to add a little bit of the lemon juice to this bean dip. So I'm just gonna squeeze in roughly that teaspoon of lemon juice. And then with your lemon, when you zest, you could totally use like a microplane, which is just a very fine grate. Otherwise, you could totally use a box grater. You just want to be a little careful because when you start zesting the lemon, if you get too deep into the white part of the lemon, you're gonna taste a bitterness about it. And so that part we don't want. We just want the colorful part, which is the yellow. All right, so I'll just set that on my board. So with that being said, I have a little bit of my lemon zest, which is on the back end of my microplane. And what video doesn't come with bloopers like dropping that lemon zest on the board? All right, so next I'm gonna chop up some of the herbs, which like I said is the thyme that I have. So I just peeled the thyme off of the stem, but like I said, you could use dry if you have dry. It's just whatever is available to you. And so I'm just gonna chop this up a little bit. You wanna chop it up enough to where you're not gonna get big chunks of it in your dip. And it doesn't need to be super pretty because it's just gonna get mixed in anyway. So I'm going to add that fresh thyme to the bowl. This will add a nice herby, slightly woodsy taste. It's not as woodsy as if you were using rosemary. If you don't like that kind of smell of like kind of pine, that's kind of what rosemary is like. If that's not really your thing, then pass on that. All right, so we're gonna add just a little bit of salt, not too much. Remember, you can always add, but you can't take away. And then we're gonna add a little bit of cracked black pepper. I usually like a lot, but obviously you wanna make sure that the flavors do shine through with everything that you're doing. And then I'm gonna take my spoon, I'm just going to mix it ever so carefully. Again, when you're doing the bean dip, Obviously, make sure that the vessel that is holding your bean dip is big enough. All right. So that should be good. So I'll set my spoon off to the side and we will put this underneath. All right. So just to clean up really quick, and then I'm gonna put the salt and the pepper away. All right. So the last and final thing that we are going to do is I am going to put my bean dip on my plate. And again, so I got some diced, or not diced, but more like veggie, you know, chunks and sticks. So in the sense of, I've got some cauliflower florets, I've got some red bell pepper, I've got some sliced cucumber, and then I've got like a seeded cracker, or you could just add more veggies. But otherwise, let's finish this off. So to the top of this, I'm not mixing it in. I'm just going to use a little bit of olive oil just to kind of finish it off. Kind of a nice little drizzle, not too much. Be careful though, because if you use a bottle, even with a little spout, it could come out too quick. And then you've got kind of this weird pool of olive oil. Never a good look. Otherwise, I'm just going to take a small sprig of that thyme that we used, just to make it look nice. Again, if you're serving this to people, presentation is everything. If you're serving it to your family and your family is not super picky, then don't worry about it. All right? So happy dipping, have a great day, and enjoy the recipe. Bye, everyone.